You're tuned in to the Cre8 podcast, where we explore the stories, insights, and advice from well-known and influential creators in the industry. I'm your host, Cindy Marioki, and this is where creatives connect. Hi, Magunga.
Hi.
How are you?
Salama sana. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you for coming onto the pod today. We're excited to have a conversation with you.
Thank you for having me. Yeah.
So before we start, please tell our audience who you are and what type of creative you are.
My name is Magunga Williams. I am a storyteller. I tell stories in different formats. I started out as a writer, but then I also delved into photography and now filmmaking. So filmmaking, I'm quite green in it, but slowly but surely growing in it. Yeah. But what it all comes down into is to just tell stories in whatever format I can.
Nice. Yeah. I like how you said you're very green in filmmaking. For the audience, please go to Magunga's Instagram. Just before you even continue this episode, just pause. You go to @the_Magunga on Instagram and you watch his reels, and then you come back and tell me if you think that's green, because the quality is really, really good.
Thank you.
No, you're welcome. So tell me what you studied.
So I studied law. Mm-hmm. I'm a lawyer by training. Mm-hmm. Though I've not practiced it. The moment I left university, I knew I didn't want to pursue it further than that. Well, back then, that's around 2014, I was still dilly-dallying with the idea of being a creative or having a backup in law. And so I didn't go to Kenya School of Law because I knew the moment I did, then the art would be like the backup as opposed to... Yeah. Mm-hmm. So, you know that thing where... are you a fan of Game of Thrones?
No.
No? Okay.
But okay, explain it. Maybe the audience will understand the reference.
Okay. So in Game of Thrones, there's this kingdom called Dawn. Okay. It was the one kingdom that was never colonized by the Valerians. So the backstory is Princess Nymeria landed in Dawn and then she burnt all her ships. Okay. So that nobody could be like, okay, I don't like this place, so I'm going to go back to where we came from. Right? Okay. So I feel like when it comes to art, the moment I decided not to go to KSL, that was me burning my ships and saying, it has to work here or we die here.
Okay.
Yeah. Wow. So it just had to work. Mm-hmm. I didn't want to give myself an option.
Okay.
Yeah.
And obviously at this point, your parents, what were they saying? Were they happy? Were they sad? Were they, because creative work is not, the parents don't think it's a real thing until you prove that it is.
Till now.
I mean, I can say for myself, I think my parents are very supportive, but if it was up to them to pick a career, for me, it would be a very conventional career path. The 9-to-5 corporate job is still safe.
It's just they were just trying to teach you what they know.
Yeah,
honestly.
That's true.
That's what they know. They don't know just how much the world has changed and just how much how lucrative the arts are. So the reason why I'm asking till now is because it's been 2014 to now. It's been 10 years, right? So it's been 10 years since I joined, or rather since I burnt my ships, right? And I decided to do this full time. And back then, the fight I was having with my mom was that, there was nothing about the internet that parents knew. Back then, I was doing my website, magunga.com. I was telling stories there. And I was a blogger. Back then, it was blogging that was the big thing.
True.
Right? Before Instagram took over, before even TikTok was invented. YouTube was just, picking up in terms of podcasting. It was not a big thing. So back then, it was blogs. And at the time, the only bloggers my mother knew was Dennis Itumbi, Robert Elai, because those were the bloggers that she used to see on TV.
Of course, yeah,
right? And back then, they were just like bashing the government.
Yeah.
So they were known as anti-government bloggers, right? So my mother, in her wisdom, or rather in her understanding, took it to mean that I was quitting law to become an anti-government blog.
Oh.
I mean, I ended up being anti-government.
I was literally gonna say
that was not the idea. Mm-hmm. That was not the idea. So yeah, it was a huge fight. I actually had to leave home.
Wow.
Yeah. We couldn't stay in the same house.
You're not saying eye to eye.
We couldn't say eye to eye. Oh. And at the time I was so freaking bitter. I was so bitter with it because the thing about making a decision like that is that you think that the people who are going to give you the support, the people who are going to be by your side are your family.
True.
It's not your family that's going to hold you back. It's going to be the people who enjoy your work. It's going to be your fans. It's going to be the clients who believe in you to like invest in your brand and stuff like that. So, I mean, the clients, one of the clients that bittersweet memories. Safaricom was one of my big clients. So the moment they give me a big job, it was called Capture Kenya. It was being run by Nani. It was Nani's brainchild. What's the former CEO's name? Bob Colimo, yeah. So he had this thing where photographers were going around the country, and so there were 5 photographers going around the country, but with each photographer, they paired them with a writer. Okay. Now, understand, in 2014, I was not a photographer.
Yes, you were not.
Right?
Yes, yeah.
I was a writer.
Yes.
So I was paired with a guy called Osbourne Macharia.
Oh my God, I think his work is...
Yes.
Yeah, he has amazing work.
Osbourne is a beast.
So talented.
With the camera, yes. Yeah. So we did good. And the funny thing, I was not actually supposed to get that gig. I was called in last minute as a replacement.
Okay.
And I remember getting that phone call. And me, I've always been a very proud person. I remember telling that guy, Brian Munge, I told him, I'm coming, mostly because I needed the money. And like the amount they were offering me was about 10 times my then salary.
Okay.
So I told my boss.
Yeah. So you actually quit your job?
I didn't quit, but I told them, this month you can pay me less 10 days worth of work.
Because you'll be out.
Yes, and it's short notice.
Okay.
Yeah. But I told them I have to go and do this.
Yeah.
But I remember telling Brian Munge, you'll never call me as a backup again.
Okay.
Right? So I was just like, I'm not a replacement.
This is the one and only time.
And we ended up having a very good relationship afterwards.
Lovely.
And in 2015, they were doing the same thing. They called us back again. Now as a first option.
Lovely. We love it.
So, and that job is the reason why I left home.
Oh.
Yeah. The moment I left for those 10 days, there's a friend of mine who was also moving, though he was my former classmate.
Okay.
Right? And we had agreed that we were going to move in together. I was just trying to get the money for it. So I told him, hey bro, I've gotten some gig. When I come back, we are going. This is around October. So he told me, Sawa, I'll start moving my stuff. And I told him I organized for my stuff to be sent as well while I was away. And then the moment I came back, I went home, picked my stuff, and left. Yeah. That's how bad it was that I had to leave. And I mean, it caused some problems, right? To the point, I think in my graduation, only my 2 brothers came, the rest of the family was like, now what are we coming to celebrate?
Oh, no.
And at that time, I'm so proud of myself, man. I've graduated from law school with second class honors. I had over 60 points. Right? I was just I think 63, 64 points. First class starts at 70. Right? Okay, 64 points That's is amazing. A big deal, right? Yeah. So I'm proud of myself. But then nobody shows up. Okay, my brothers showed up. They took me for lunch. And then it was a week. See, graduation is usually on Fridays.
Yes.
So they came, took me for lunch, and then nikaenda home. I remember like me and my boy when we left that day of our graduation, December 6th, 2014, we were staying in Langata. Asubuhi tukavaa gowns, everything.
Yes.
Tukatoka tukapanda matatu.
Yeah.
Langata. Kutoka pale Park 2, it's called Park 2, but now I think the estate was demolished. It was Park 2, Langata. Tukapanda matatu.
In your gowns.
The conductors, with our gowns, yes.
Yeah.
So the conductor saw us, and the person who was seated in front was told to go sit at the back.
Okay.
We were allowed to sit in front.
Wow.
And on that day, hatukulipa fare.
Wow.
Hatukulipa fare.
How lovely.
And my friend was also the same.
Yeah.
He also went for lunch with his parents and then came back. And then that day at night, tukaenda tukapiga sherehe OST. I remember we wore our
graduation caps.
Yeah. I mean, we if nobody's going to celebrate you, what are you
have to celebrate yourself.
Yeah, I mean, I knew this was it.
Yeah.
Like that night out, that was going to be my farewell with the legal career.
Yeah.
So I just made the most out of it. We went out, a bunch of my friends, after our mekula lunch na nini. It was nice, but I remember feeling some kind of jealousy, man. Like, you know, the way kuna watu ukienda graduation, yeah? Kuna watu wanakujua kutoka Ocha, right? Kuna watu wanakujua kutoka Ocha, like mtu amekujua, the whole clan is there.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And they've come with matatus.
Yes.
Some people even come with buses. Wamekuja ku celebrate kijana yao ama msichana wao. And I know it's inaka ushamba or whatever, but the whole thing ya kuvalia zile vitu mshaino.
The mshainos.
Right? I mean, it's only for one day, right? And back then when I remember looking at guys, I'm like, shit, must be nice.
Must be nice.
Me, I'm over here fighting my battles, man. My brothers came and that was it. Right? Yeah. So me, by the I remember after that graduation, ndo nikasema, you know what, you will see.
Okay, so you had to prove the point.
Yeah. Now this became a matter of like proving a point more than... I think up until that time, I was dilly-dallying with the idea, right? Because I was also scared, to be fair. I was like, I don't know what this is. There is no blogger. We are the pioneering group, right? So we don't know where this is going to go, right? So that lack of foresight or that comfort of knowing what's in front, as opposed to like a legal career or any other conventional, it was scary. But then when it felt like it's me against the world, I was like, then
you have to.
Then
it's gonna work.
We will see.
Yeah.
And now here,
and it's working.
Cre8 Studios.
We love it.
Yeah.
Sharing your story. Yeah. So did your relationship with your mother get better over time?
I mean, at that point now, it just became a matter of... It took a bit of time. It was just for her to like accept that this is now the direction I've taken. And because I didn't get up... You know, you can only control someone you support. I don't know if you understand what I'm saying. Like, if she was funding my career or helping me pay rent,
then she has the right to say, yes.
But now that I'm doing it by myself,
there's nothing she could have said, but all she can do is accept.
Yeah. And I that's why I was telling you at the time I was very bitter. So it took a bit of time for that part of me to accept that even her, she was just like trying to look out for me in the way that she knew. It's just that the way she knew and the way I knew they were on a collision course. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Interesting.
When you tell me your parents support you, I'm like, must be nice.
But you will support your son too, right?
Whatever he wants to do.
Yeah, so it's good. You have sometimes I think you have to learn from what you've gone through.
It ends with us.
Yeah.
I mean, I love that movie called It Ends With Us, though it has a lot of controversy.
It has a lot of controversy. But
I watched it, and the message behind it was amazing. So it ends with us.
It was like breaking the cycle.
You break that cycle.
Yes, which is good. I think, yeah. Okay. So tell me a little bit about Magunga.com, as you have mentioned.
So, every time I think about it, where it began, I just feel old. Because I have to start telling you, I started blogging in 2011 going to 2012. So here's how it began. So when I look back, that's how many years from 2011? That's 13 years.
20 from 2011?
Yeah.
That's 14 years.
From 14 years. Damn.
It's a whole teenager.
14. So next year I'm 15 years in the game.
Yeah. You should do a little celebration.
Yeah, but I don't know if we have much to celebrate yet.
Okay.
Yeah, like I feel like there is still some stuff I need to
accomplish.
Anyway, so Magunga.com it started out as a website called The Real G.
Oh, lovely.
The Real G Inc. So the thing is, in our school, law school, in our class, there was a guy called Godwin, an amazing artist, as well as a Godwin Mugendi. I don't know if you're watching this, bado nakukumbuka. So Godwin was good with, he was drawing, right? He was an artist. And people used to call him G. Okay. Right?
Yeah.
But me back home, not at school, not at anywhere else, at home, because my first name is George. Okay. Right? So at home I'm called George. Okay. So my dad back in the day started calling me Gigi, and then it changed to G. Right? So at home, either G or Gigi. So what happens is I get into university, and some of my friends, I feel very few, I call me G. But then the other guy who is an artist becomes more prominent as G. Yeah. So me, in my usual competitive nature, I started a website and called it The Real G.
So you're the real one.
I'm the real one. It's not a matter of competition. And so it became The Real G, and I used to just write stories about campus. The reason why I started writing was because of I started blogging, not writing. The reason I started blogging, because I used to write from high school days. Okay. And even I would even say primary. But then in university now, when in 2010 when I joined university, not many people, I think like 3 people had laptops in my class. I think only about 3 people had laptops in my class. The rest of us had to use the computer lab, right? So I used to, once, when you're not in class, people used to rush to the computer lab, because there are like about 40 computers, and you're serving the whole of University of Nairobi School of Law, which is about, at a time, it's like 2,000. So I used to rush to the computer lab, and I would spend most of my days there. And that's when you're not like doing assignments, you're now typing. So I used to type and then save, go and print out my stories and give my circle of friends. Okay. Right? Yeah. And they would read. And then, you know how these things go. Someone gets the paper and then they give someone else. Just that's how it started. And then at the end of first year, a friend of mine called Sharon Manoa sends me a link to someone's blog. At that time, I'm in Kisumu, right? For long holidays. So I read this guy's blog, and every story is amazing. And I remember reading from, I think it was about like 10 up to 6. Like, yeah, he had written a ton of stories. Yeah. So I was reading, taking a break, watch a movie, go back, read, mpaka nyuma. I remember just staying up at night reading that guy's stories or blog. And he had an interesting name. His name is still Biko Zulu.
I love his stories.
Right?
Yes.
Hey, back in the day, Biko was a G. He still is, right?
Yeah.
But back then, when it comes to creative writing, that was it. Now, so of course I go to sleep at like 5:30, 6 a.m. I wake up in the afternoon because I'm in Kisumu. There is a university campus in Kisumu town. I just go to Kisumu town. I find a computer. Kisumu town campus, University of Nairobi. I find an email. I bang out a story. Like I told you, we didn't have laptops. I didn't have a personal computer. So I write out a story. And then that's when I started the website called The Real G, right? And started posting my stories there. So I was just writing about whatever, but mostly about campus. Yeah. So that grew later on into magunga.com, which now still exists mpaka sai, though I've not written for a long time.
Will you go back to writing?
So I have written a couple of stories, but I've not posted them.
Okay. Why not?
When you haven't written in so long, and then you write and then you read back what you've written, it doesn't. You're like, maybe inyote ilinitoka.
Oh, so you're being critical of your work.
Yeah, like it doesn't read.
I think you should just post it.
So I've not. And then the thing is about if I'm to post it, I would it would be like an indication that I'm back with the blog, and I don't know if I'm ready for that.
Okay, fair. Take your time.
Yeah. I mean, I've always longed to go back to it, but yeah.
Okay. Before we move on, you mentioned because Zulu, and I actually have 2 of his books down here.
Oh, Drunk and Thursdays.
Yes, because Zulu is also known as Jackson Biko, by the way. So he has, I think, 3 published books: Drunk, Thursdays, and Let Me Call You Back. I know because I'm a big fan.
There's a 3rd book.
Yeah, there's a 3rd book. I think I have it. I think
when did he
published it last year, if I'm not wrong, because that's when I got it. It's
really?
also as
if he sees this, he's going to be like, Magunga, of all people, you because he's my friend as well.
Really?
How do you not know that I have a 3rd
you should know that. He has a 3rd book.
I'm sorry, but you also haven't told me, man. Like.
Okay, well, yeah, it's also good, yeah. So, speaking of books, you had a bookstore.
I had a bookstore, yeah.
The Magunga bookstore.
Yes.
And it was primarily selling African literature.
Titles, yeah.
Yes. So tell us the story of how it started and why it is no longer in existence.
So the reason why it's no longer in existence, anyway. So here's how it started. At the time, I was dating someone, right? And she's a poet.
Okay.
And because I had the blog, so she was self-published.
Okay.
Right? So bookshops around were not willing to put her book up on the shelves. Right? And so selling became kind of like hectic. Now, I thought to myself, I have this website. And this website, I get about 5,000 weekly readers here. 5,000, that's when the story is meh. When it's great, it's like 10 or even 20.
Okay.
Right? So I told her, listen, I think I can get someone to put like a product side to this website where literally the inspiration was from The Guardian.
Okay.
The Guardian had their website, and then they also had a bookshop part of the website. Literally. So when I saw that, I was like, I can replicate this. And so I put her book up there. So the moment I announced that I've put her book up there, other self-published authors like Oduor Jagero, Kenyan Kombani, and some other Nigerians reached out. They were like, oh, by the way, listen, we have books here. You can populate your bookstore. But you remember it started for
Your
my girlfriend's
poetry, yes.
Poetry book. So we that's just how it started. And the reason why, because it started like that, the whole idea was to help people who do not have a lot of visibility to get visibility. It didn't start as a business. I was just helping out a few friends. And then it now grew.
Yeah.
And now I was talking books. But because of that philosophy at the beginning, we decided African books are the ones that are very difficult to get. Because it was that if you go to a bookshop, you will get shelves written crime,
romance,
or biographies,
action, those things.
But then you get to a shelf and then it's written Africana. I'm like, Africana? This Africana could easily fit in all these things, right?
Shelves, yeah.
And because of that, the shelf was one shelf in most of the bookshops. The only bookshop that had a lot of African books was the one at here. I don't know if it still exists. Bookstop.
Yes.
So, other than that Muindi, there was nobody else. So I decided I'm going to sell African books purely, and that's how it just began. And before I knew it, I was being interviewed for the New York.
Wow.
But that was kind of a big deal.
That's a big accomplishment.
Yeah, so it went. Unfortunately, the relationship didn't work. So that was the beginning of the decline. And then later on, we had someone else who was a partner in that bookshop, and that person embezzled some money.
Oh no.
Which now set us back a long way. Then it kind of just died.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh. Well, at least the intention behind it was amazing. And
the intention behind it was amazing.
Yeah.
And after we started, there was so much, like, I feel like we brought to attention a niche of books in our bookshops that was missing. And I remember because of that kind of competition, other bookshops started doing their own thing.
Okay.
Also, remember, it was only online.
Yes.
The only other person who had an active online bookshop was Textbook Center. But Textbook Center is more than a bookshop. It has electronics, It was not, it has stationery. Yeah. So people now just started opening books online and selling books online. Now you have the likes of half-price books, shout out to them. Somanami is there.
Yes.
There is Nuria who do the same thing. And I'm glad. I know we inspired the likes of Prestige Bookshop to set up their website.
That's lovely.
And just said, I think when we started with the bookshop, or rather at the height of it, I remember people in Nairobi were so shocked. They were like, you mean I can just call you guys, send a WhatsApp call or make an order through the website?
Yeah.
And if I'm in Nairobi, I'll make an order in the morning, and at 10, I'm leaving a meeting and the book is waiting for me.
In the whatever it is.
Yeah, and because it was online, and specifically online for African books. So you have African crime, African romance, African...
So all the
it's
categories.
Easy to navigate and all those. And if we didn't have a book, we would tell you if we can source it for you or, Yeah, so you would wait depending on where we are sourcing it from, and then you'd have it. It was quite convenient. And we made quite a buzz until our fire kind of
fizzled out. Yeah. And then now, how did you enter this photography space?
So photography finds me. Now we have to go back to Osbourne Macharia, Capture Kenya.
Yeah.
There was that girl who I was dating. She had a camera.
Okay.
A Canon 7D. So at the time, a Canon 7D was a good camera, right? Not the latest, but still
good quality.
Can hold its own, right? So I start playing around with it. Yeah. I meet a few guys like Moav, Paushinsky. They showed me a few stuff, right? And then that is Capture Kenya 1 comes and I go as a writer. Sorry. And then now from that experience, I'm like, damn, I think I can take pictures. It doesn't look that crazy. I can do it, right? And I start fiddling with it. So by the time Capture Kenya 2 comes, I have kind of
Understood, yeah.
Yes, but still, I was not invited as a photographer. So I go for Capture Kenya 2, which now further deepens my
passion,
my
or your curiosity,
curiosity for photography. So by the time I was coming from Capture Kenya 2, I just decided, let me be taking this camera with me because she was not using it. It was available for hire.
Okay.
But when it was not being hired, I could use it. And I was also writing travel stories. And I figured if I'm writing travel stories, the stories as words is great, but if I accompany them with pictures,
it's even better. True.
Right?
True.
So that's just how it started. That's just how it started. And before I knew it, I was just posting on Instagram living, because I was taking pictures for my travel portfolio, my travel blog, or if I write for, like, let's say the East African or any other newspaper, I can accompany with pictures. It can get me a bit more money because I'm giving you stories in terms of written format and also images.
Yes.
Yeah. But then Instagram ikaanza tu kupik, and I started just picking. Now, Instagram also starts picking up generally.
Yes.
Right? Around 2016, 17, up until Instagram started coming or becoming a lot more popular, especially in Kenya with the likes of Akina, is it Joy Kendi?
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but back then, now me, I knew Instagram was a place for buddies. Swear to God.
Okay,
Yeah, because people like, even the people I used to look up to, people like Mutua Madeka, they used to post their work on their websites.
Yes.
So if I wanted to enjoy their work, I would go to their websites, right? But then everyone started going to Instagram. I remember Mutua Madeka was among the first people I knew who got to 100,000 followers. And I used to like, what?
How
to have 100,000 followers?
Yeah.
So I can't give you like the correct timeline of how that happens. But the blogging side goes down, and these other forms of social media can gain more popularity.
Yes.
So like Instagram, this audiovisual. Twitter was always very big. Facebook was always very big. But Facebook has never been a place. Facebook has always been the place for just your social.
You're catching up with your friends, or updating them on your life. Yeah,
it's not where you go and display your photos or your videos. So and then you remember, Twitter didn't even have images.
Yeah, it was just text.
Right? It was just text.
Yeah.
So Instagram was the place. So everyone used to go to Instagram to see these things. And so my curiosity, just because a new skill, you're curious, you keep going out, keep shooting. Instagram is growing. You're getting a bit more traction. And just like that, the moment, by the time we're getting to the end of the past decade, Instagram was huge. And TikTok came in 2020? Yeah, so up until 2019, it was Instagram.
That's true.
Right? So photography, it's up until last year ndo nilianza kuuza mapicha or doing photography for pay. I've always just done photography as a
hobby.
Yeah.
And all of this is self-taught.
Self-taught, but I can't like give myself all the credit. Like I said, there are people who showed me a few stuff.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you had some mentors.
Yeah, I had help. And I think with photography generally, if you're going to grow, you're just gonna get help.
Can you mention some of the ones who helped you out? You've mentioned Mutua Madeka.
I've mentioned, so first influences, of course, me Osbourne.
Yes.
But Osbourne is portrait. I like travel. So by the time I'm getting there, I'm talking about Moav, talking about people like Peter Size 10, Namuks, Pawshinsky. Though Pawshinsky now moved and went directly to shooting food and drinks. So those, and then online there are some YouTube channels like Peter Mackinnon that really shaped or inspired me to photography.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
So it was great. And then at the time I was doing everything, man. Like I was hiking, I was traveling, I was Hey. So I had a ton of opportunities to take pictures.
Yeah. I think you're one of those people. I watch your stories when you're sharing stories from like back, like your life back then. You're sharing how you also did like dance classes with your now wife, but she was your girlfriend.
Yes.
I'm like, wow, you lived such a very full life. Like you're living a very full life.
I mean, there's so things like, I think for me the thing is that I've never really locked myself down to just do one thing. Right? That's why it's easy for me to evolve from writing to photography, now videography. In between, I don't even consider the dance I do as a social thing. Right? I'm not a professional dancer, so to speak. But I've always loved dancing.
Okay.
Right? So I think I remember there was a time when I watched a Kizomba dance video and I was like, damn, those guys move so well.
They do.
Oh.
They
My
really,
God,
really
I'd love to learn how to do that. And I did a bit of classes earlier, right? But then later on, when I'm meeting my now wife, and she tells me, we're coming from, I think it was where were we coming from? And then she told me, we're coming from a Java. And then she tells me, oh, by there I go for classes, for dance classes here. Now, by sheer serendipity, as she's saying that, pointing to me a place called Metro Lounge in Koinange Street. One of the instructors of the dance was actually just walking like this, and then he heard her and saw her, and then he was like, yes, and then he stopped coming. Why didn't you stop coming? He's like, oh yeah, so George, this is
the instructor.
This is the instructor. And then so I asked, is the class still on? Akaniambia, no, class imeisha, but there's a social dance going on. So let me go see. And I went and saw. And then after that, I just started going for classes. Right? Actually, the reason why I stopped going for classes was COVID. COVID came and then you couldn't hold anyone.
Yeah.
I understand salsa, kizomba, bachata are all close contact dances.
Yes.
And so that one automatically you couldn't, right? It was up. So by the time 2021 is coming around, the fire in me for dance had gone down.
Okay.
Yeah, we danced a bit during lockdown. We used to dance, but then by and by other things change. Your direction career-wise becomes more intense. Time for it just disappeared. Yeah.
Okay, well, I watched some videos of your wedding dance.
Oh, yes.
This is so, wow. It was very beautiful.
And we decided we were not going to rehearse.
Oh.
Yeah, we did
that wasn't rehearsed.
No, that was freestyle. So, but that's the nature of those dances. I feel like for us, it was very normal, yeah? The nature of this kizomba, salsa, bachata, people always make it feel like, or make it sound like they are very sensual. And I know they can be. It can be when I'm dancing with my girlfriend, it can be. But when we go for social dances, you're dancing with many times, complete strangers.
Yeah. Or
friends.
Yeah.
Right? And these are people in their own relationships and whatnot, right? So when you're dancing, you're just dancing as any other dance you'd dance, right? But because it is close contact, people make it sound like it is
very sensual. That's
very
true.
sensual.
Yeah.
So, but it is just a matter of steps. It's a matter of connection, and then that's it. Though I will warn you, it's very easy to like someone. No, if the dance can make you bring. If I already have a crush on you,
and
then I'm holding you like if
you're very close.
If you already have a spark, it can bring you closer. But if it is just platonic, it will just be platonic.
It will just be platonic.
Yeah. So when we go out with my wife and we're going dancing, I'll dance with her. I'll dance with other ladies. I'll probably dance with her less than I've danced with other people. Yeah. Okay. So, and it's usually because you're going there and meeting people and then dancing, there are basic steps that people know, basic skills. So you don't have to rehearse.
Okay, makes sense.
Yeah. So when we went to do the wedding dance, it was not rehearsed. We were already going through enough planning for a wedding. We said we're not going to put
more pressure on this.
We're going to do it freestyle.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
it looks really, really nice.
Thank you so much. To a trained eye, they would see all the mistakes we were making. But of course, it's a wedding dance.
And it's a wedding and it's a celebration.
It's not a performance.
It's not a competition either.
Yeah.
Like, it's okay. You were just having so you're celebrating your union.
and then the beauty of the first dance is usually that it comes at the end of all those things. After the ceremony, the photos, the dancing, the nini. I think it comes just before the cake cutting.
And it's actually
when everyone is just it's done.
Yeah.
So the dance is just to decompress.
Yes.
Yeah. And there is very little weighing on your mind. Imagine if you have to do your first dance at the beginning of the day when you're wondering whether your service providers are going to
you'd be so stressed.
Uko stress kama keki imefika.
Even step
Uko
on
stress
her,
kama
step on you.
So at the time you are easy.
Yeah. Okay. Wow, that's interesting. Now let's talk about your current partnership with Glenfiddich.
Yes.
You've said you told me earlier that it's probably been about 4 to 5 years working with them.
Yeah.
How did you end up getting the partnership? And basically.
I was doing other alcoholic brands before that.
Okay.
Right? When I started out. And then I met someone from WGS. Let me even start. It's not even like that. 2019. Living alone, I'm a single man living in Jamhuri. And I like making cocktails.
Okay.
I even had a whole page for it.
Really? Does it still exist?
It was called Baba Pima.
I'm gonna go check it out.
I don't think it's there anymore.
Are you sure?
Yeah, is it?
I'll have a look. If I find it, I'm gonna link it in the description.
I used to love making cocktails. And I told you about a friend of mine called Pau. So Pau is a photographer at the time. He was also delving into shooting food and drink. Yes. Now, me, I tell him, I love the idea of cocktails. And they look like they're so easy to make. And they cost so much when you go out.
True.
Right? See, I can just get like a bottle and make a few and then you take pictures maybe. It was just as one of those things where let's try.
Yeah.
Right? And then he just started Baba Pima. And then I was the person who was mixing cocktails and he was the one taking pictures.
Wow.
Yeah. It just started like that. And then, so one of the ladies at William Grant and Sons, which is now the company under which Glenfiddich falls, her name is Olivia. She sees the work. She used to follow me for other stuff. And then she sees the work, reaches out, and then she says, I can send you a bottle, like just to support you. He's like, yeah, thank you. So I sent her my address. And she doesn't just send me a bottle, right? She sends me a bottle, an apron, some glassware, shakers,
nice.
Because I think they had extra.
Yes.
Yeah. So you can have this to boost your stuff. And I was so grateful. And I remember that's the time when they were also looking for a brand ambassador. They had put a call out for a national brand ambassador for Glenfiddich. And then I was like, should I apply for this?
Should I apply
for this? And then I didn't apply for it. I was like, no, I can't apply for that. I didn't feel like I was ready for such kind of a role. And also, to be quite fair, while I enjoyed drinking whiskey, I didn't know much about whiskey.
Okay.
So you can't be a brand ambassador and then
you don't know your stuff.
Yeah, you don't know your stuff like that.
Yeah.
So later on, who do they announce? They announce the now brand ambassador, national brand ambassador, Mulunda.
Yes.
So I remember texting Olivia, telling her, you know what? I was actually curious to see who you guys are going to pick. And I didn't know who had applied, right? But this is such a great choice. Because I'd not even seen his face or I'd never met him.
Oh, really? Okay.
But I used to follow his page.
Okay.
Because of food.
For the food, yes, definitely.
Man. And then he used to do like some dishes where he cooks with like alcohol and stuff. So I was like, yeah. So this is someone who has good content already, has a voice online, And I didn't know at the time, but is also a great orator and great lover of whiskey. So I'm like, great. So a year passes by, and then I do other gigs with other people. And then she tells me, we might have an opening for you if you are available. At the time I was on contract elsewhere. I told them, let my contract end. Once my contract ends, I'll be happy to join.
Nice.
And so in 2021, you can imagine from 2019, it takes like 2.5 years.
Wow. So that's when your journey started. So it's been 4 years.
Yeah, so like 2021, same apple from May.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
2022, 23, 24, 25. In May, it will be 5 years. Yeah.
And in this time, you've had amazing content on your page. My personal favorite series, For the Record.
For the Record, yes.
Yeah, I know you did a few where you hadn't integrated Glenfiddich. I think let me not even I don't remember which one it was.
No,
but
so because I'm a content creator, right?
Yes.
We are now 2 years ago. Right, yes. 2 years ago, I also like music.
Oh, yes.
I'm not a musician. I wish I could sing, but I can't sing. If I start singing right now, these cameras are going to fry. You start hearing glasses breaking. It will feel like the apocalypse.
Yeah.
But I love music. I love stories, because that's my background.
True.
Now, other than that, I'm also, I don't know what it is about it, but I love old things. I feel like they're so rich in history. They have texture, and one of the things that I always wanted to do, I kept begging my mom, I'm like, can I have that old record player, the one that we used to have? You remember? Because I remember we used to have a record player and some records, right? This is something I started bothering her about Uko during COVID. Every time she used to be like, okay, fine, I'll get them for you. Okay, fine. Stop bothering me, I'll get them for you. I said I'll get them for you. So, someone telling you, stop bothering me, I'll get them for you. And it's been 3 years of me begging. So one day she calls me up. She's like, okay, I got this. You remember those things you're asking me for? I got them. I was like, oh. So I went and got them.
Yeah.
And then, so now here I am holding stuff that I remember seeing for the last time about, like in 2004.
Wow.
2005.
Yeah.
The last time I saw these things.
Yeah.
Right? And so here they are with me. And I look at their condition, they're good in condition. The next thing I do, I go to Kenyatta Market. Jimmy Rugami has a record store there where he sells records and vintage audio equipment, including players. And I grab myself a record player. And that's just how I start collecting. Now, hapo kwa Jimmy, I got a record, Shaka Khan, right? And that Shaka Khan record had Through the Fire. Through the fire, to the limit, to the... So that one, like I said, that's the most I can sing.
Didn't sound too bad.
Yeah, so I get it. And then later on, my sister is coming down. I tell her, get me a copy of Kanye West.
Oh, okay.
College Dropout. So I'm listening to College Dropout. I know the story behind College Dropout. But it had not clicked to me that it was Through the Fire by Shaka Khan. It hadn't. And then now I'm like, oh. So I go and then I start researching about Through the Wire, the Kanye West version. And I think the story is interesting. Maybe I should do like a thing. At that same time, I'm thinking about what I can do for content for Glenfiddich. And at the time, I had a bottle of Glenfiddich Fire and Cane. It was one of Glenfiddich's experimental bottles. Yeah. So here I am. I have a bottle of Glenfiddich Fire and Cane. Right? The story Through the Wire is inspired by Through the Fire. I'm like, I can put a correlation here, right? Both the whiskey and Kanye West were put through the fire to become who they were. Because that's his first single out, right? And it is based on a song called Through the Fire. So I just do a segment on that. Because I thought those work great together. And as I'm doing it, out of nowhere, just as I'm starting out, I'm saying, okay, so welcome to my new series, my whiskey and record series. Actually, the first one. I remember saying, welcome to the first episode of my whiskey and record series. And then I put it out. When I said that, I had not planned to do this thing for a long
As a
time.
series.
It just came out, and then in the edit, I left it there.
Okay.
Right? So, after saying that, it is, people are just like, this is amazing content. This is amazing, the storytelling, the how you bring in the whiskey, how you do all these things. Good job, good job. Everyone is like amazed by it. Now me, I'm over here like, I don't even have the next one. I don't even have the next one.
Yeah.
And then one day I'm talking, so I do like a couple of others, and then I think I'm done, right? And then someone said, I love your series, now bring it home. You've done Awase wa Maju, I did Adele, you know, now bring it home. Then I think about, bring it home, where do I bring it to? I do Les Wanyika, Sina Makosa, and then the one that now like got a lot of attention was the series I did on Franco.
Yes, that's the one.
Right?
I really enjoyed it.
But Franco's story just kept going and going. Me, I was just researching one thing.
Yeah.
And then the more I researched about Franco, the more I got all of these things. And in the end, I ended up with such a long story, I had to divide it into 5 parts. I had to divide it into 5 parts. So I did a 5-part series on Franco. And the story of Franco is literally the story of DRC throughout the reign of Mobutu Sese Seko. And when I'm doing this story, I'm like, there is so much of our histories as Africans or as a people generally that is in music, right? That is in art. So me, as I'm doing it, these are things that I'm also realizing as I'm doing them. I think I'd also done one on Billy Abel and this song called Nakei Nairobi, which people usually think is about Nairobi. It is not. It's about a girl who got lost and who was in Nairobi and was suffering, and alikuwa anamwambia anakuja Nairobi kumchukua amrudishe Kinshasa. And that story also has a bit of history to Kenya because it was at a time when music had been banned because of the attempted coup in the 80s. So this was literally among the first, this was the first concert after the ban on public performance of music by Moi. Unaona? So me, I do all this, I think for me, the record series is just a series that I've just been growing into. Even for me right now, if you ask me what the next story, I don't know. I have records at home. I was supposed to do one with Madonna because my friend June Gashui was doing a memorial concert.
Yes.
Right? So I went and got a bit of stuff on Madonna, but I didn't feel it.
Okay.
Yeah. There's something I could do, but ilinitoka tu.
So what's your creative process normally like when you're creating such videos? I mean, you've explained the first, very, very first one, but now when like you are creating the Franco series, you've talked about research, and so tell me from ideation to execution.
So understand this. When I started the record series, I was doing it as part of content, KPI. You remember you had asked me about my partnership with Glenfiddich, and that's how it starts, right? I had a KPI that I needed to accomplish. I did the first one, people loved it. I did the second one, people loved it, and then it has stayed. So it has never been like something that stands on its own. I've always done it as content for Glenfiddich, right? Or sometimes when I feel like the subject matter is a bit, I think that's why I didn't do Madonna, because if you're doing any alcoholic brand, you'll be given certain guidelines and stuff. And I felt like if I do that story, it will not fit with the brand very well. But that's part of it. Generally, I didn't grow up with Madonna, so I didn't have that much connection. I tried, but
Yeah, it could work. It's okay.
Yes. So just generally, that's how it is. But I do other stuff as well. For Glenfiddich, I do other content that is not records.
True.
And I put it as part of Glenfiddich content. So in it all pressure, right? If I was just doing it as a thing on its own, right, then it means that I have to every week or every 2 weeks I must have stuff out.
Yes.
Now understand this: records are very difficult to come by. If you either get them old and expensive, or you have to ship them in, and sometimes that doesn't go well because you need to, or it becomes very expensive.
Yeah.
So I just decided this will be as part of my content for Glenfiddich. I can do other stuff, like we can do events, I can shoot events, I can do fashion, I can do whatever, right? But then once in a while I bring in the record series for the record. Yeah, and it's just to pace myself, to allow myself time to get a story worth telling, and then I tell it when I can. Right?
Okay.
So for Franco, it's just that those were the records that I had a lot of from my mom. Right? So I kept going through these stories. I'm like, interesting. I have copies of Sauti Soul music, where they sampled stuff from Franco. I thought, okay, that could be an interesting idea. When I go look at the history of that song that they sampled, that was a whole story by itself. You get? So the moment I just need something, I just need a thread I can pick. And then when you start pulling that thread, the stories just unravel. But now that is in research. Now, when it comes to now telling the story, I have a smaller setup than this one. Yours is so fancy.
I think you're the first person to say that. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Yeah, I have one light. I use a mic, and I call one of my friends. I either call Peter Braxton or I call Wesley, and they come and help me shoot. Yeah, and so usually I'll just sit down and write it out. Okay, I'll sit down, write it out, memorize it, and then tell it. Okay. At first, I used to memorize it complete. But now, it became like, no, let me just memorize paragraph by paragraph and then tell. Yeah. And then it became easier when I realized I could use a tablet as a, what do you call it? As a teleprompter. So kuna venye nakwanga nimekificha mahali hapo. Nachungulia hivi nikiangalia alafu narudi naangalia kamera, you know. And that's execution. Then now, editing is all me now.
Okay. Yeah. And that's when now the videography comes in, or when?
No, videography. Oh my. So videography as a form of content has nothing to do with the record series.
Okay.
No.
So what is the video? No. You said filmmaking.
Yeah, filmmaking, so videography.
How did you end up? How did you take the leap to start videography?
So I used to, like I told you, long before I met Glenfiddich, I used to do other brands as well.
Yes.
Now, there was a time when I was doing a campaign with Jumbo Jet, right? And it's not a secret that at the time, I was also doing White Cup, right? So, my friend Gufy, who, by the way, is now like my first influence in videography or filmmaking. He's called Gufy Dox. You can check him out.
Yeah, he's amazing.
He's amazing, right?
Yeah.
So Gufy, I'm with Gufy, where were we? The first video we did with Gufy was... Wow, what was the first video? Was it the one in Malindi, or what did we do? I can't remember. But I called him and I told him, see, we'll be in Malindi, let's do a video. And then he shot the video and then he sent it to me. And I remember thinking, okay, this is nice. This is nice. Right? Hey, it just, and that, but listen, just like that, I think my first reels ever, Gufy used to be the ones shooting them.
Okay.
Yeah. And because we are friends, it was, me, I used to think they were a big deal. For him, reels were just, okay. Because he's trained in filmmaking. So if it is not like at shooting like a big documentary or whatever, it's just...
It's okay.
Right?
Light work.
Yeah, it's just light work. And at the time, Gufy was not actually doing influencing as it is, right? So we helped each other out. Tukasaidiana to introduce. He helps me with the video content, and then I also like help him out with influencing, and you know, if you get how to get not necessarily how to get brands per se, because that one is never really in your control.
True.
But how to attract, you know, how to negotiate stuff like that. So nowadays it's gotten to a point, I started with him, now it's gotten to a point where I can make my own videos. He can handle himself as an influencer. Yeah. So that's just how video started. I didn't think that I would even be able to be in a video as like that. Yeah, when I was doing photography, I was there as a photographer. I was not the subject of the content, right? That only started with influencing now. But I was not the subject of the content. I was always the person capturing the subject, right? So I'll go out and shoot nature, wildlife. Those are my favorite things to shoot. Architecture. Those are the things that I love to shoot. So I was there shooting that, right? And now I had to make a switch in which now I am the subject.
You're the subject, yes.
Right? That starts now with Whitecap. But then when I start with Whitecap, we were using our phones, right? Up until now, Gufy rocks up in my life with that camera, an A6500 at the time, and does this stuff. And I'm like, wow. You will be my guy for this. Yeah.
Then now how did you enter videography then?
No, see, curiosity.
Just that.
Yeah.
You were like, Gufy, this is amazing. I want to do it too. And
up until you remember I told you I used to use my then girlfriend's camera, and then we break up, and then sasi camera kabaki na mwenyewe. Now it became awkward just keeping on
like, hey,
like, come on. So I started thinking of buying my own camera. I bought my own camera in 2021, an A7 III. And I only bought Sony because Gufy told me to buy Sony. And Gufy's the one who told me to buy this. So when I buy this camera now, my own, I was moving from a Canon to a Sony, right? So he's the one who taught me how to, because there are different systems.
Definitely.
How to do all these things, and of course with YouTube as well. And then he's like, this camera can shoot both video competently and photos competently. So that was my first camera.
Okay.
Yeah. So he's actually now the one who now tells me the videography element of things.
Okay, that's really nice. Is there anything in your entire journey that has been a challenge for you?
I think the transitions has always been a challenge. The transition from law to blogging, writing, right, at the beginning was a challenge. The transition from writing, in fact, this one was quite difficult because I really loved writing, but it was very difficult to make a good living like that. You can imagine you have to do paid content as a writer. I'm writing, and I'm doing storytelling, right? And storytelling is very cerebral. So at the time, sit down to write 2,000 words, and you put a brand in there. And when you're putting a brand in there, I think that's what even informs me mpaka sahi. Especially people on TikTok are usually like, your videos are amazing, but why do I feel like you've sold me something? I don't know. Like, is this an ad or is this
an ad? But
you see, for me, that's a story.
Yeah.
But it has an ad inside it. So the ad is not the point, but it's leading so well that it doesn't have to be like, yes.
It's integrated.
Tastes nice.
Yeah.
I don't have to tell you that Glenfiddich tastes nice.
Yeah.
Mulunda already does that for you.
Yeah.
Tell you all the character of the whiskey and all those things. Now for me is to bring out the social aspects of these brands, and that's how I always do my stuff. You'll never get me doing that. Now back then, doing that with content is easier. I think this is easier than writing. Writing is so hard, and then it wasn't paying much. Okay. Then I came to realize I have to pose with a product, or
and you can get money.
and I can get paid for that.
Okay.
And I can get paid like way more than with writing. I'm in.
Yeah.
At some point, I just decided I need to like. There's a life I also like to live.
Of course.
That I will not be able to live with writing. So that was difficult. The transition from writing to influencing.
Yeah.
From photography to filmmaking is not that difficult. For me, it wasn't. That was a bit of a very smooth transition.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. But now you see, the thing is, as you transition, you lose people.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
The people who followed me at the beginning for writing, right now they feel like there is no need to be following me. And I accept that. I agree.
Yeah.
So that's fine. The people who followed me because of writing, and now they see me doing all this, content for photography, that is. And then they are shocked, where do we fall in this new aspect of yours? And even in content, I used to do a lot of heavy travel, like I said, between 2018, I think just from 2017 all the way back like 3 years ago, I was doing a lot of travel content. So right now when I'm doing stuff around music, I remember Juicy, someone referred to me as like someone in the music industry. Like, I'm not. Even when I started doing like fashion, like personal style, fashion kind of content, all of a sudden I'm a fashion person. No, I just like to look good, yeah. And then that's it. That's not like the crux of my art. And I think I did that for so long. All this time I'm taking pictures. I remember there was a time now last year when I now decided to now do production. Like, you call me to do a production for you, I can do a production for you. And I was talking to some friend of mine, and then he's like, what do you mean you want to get into production? Then I told him, but see, me, I do photography, and I've just started learning how to do videos. So I want to have this as a separate thing for myself. And he was shocked because he only knew me as an influencer. So these are people who didn't know me from back in the day.
Yes.
Right? So they don't know that I'm actually a photographer. I'm actually a writer and all these things. So I'm mostly now known as a content creator. So you see, I've with in this life of content generally, right? I've lived many lives.
True, you have.
And every time you make a switch, the only reason I make switches is so that I can make it more exciting, make it more adventurous for me. Writing to photography. Now photography was travel. I did a lot of travel. Then I did a fashion. Then I did cocktails. And now music. You get. So, and music, I love it for musical history, not per se, not so much as like making music. I like the stories behind
the music.
Yes. I like the beat. Me, I love BTSs more than the final thing. So if I'm telling a story, I will not tell you a story of this. If someone was to ask me the story of how you ended up at Cre8, I won't talk about this conversation. Not that it's boring, but I'll tell them, hey, listen, before I ended up sitting on this seat, this almost didn't happen. This girl got sick. I got busy. This happened. And now here we are.
Very many rescheduled later. Here we are.
How many times did we push this?
Yes, yes.
Right? So me, I like watching how the sausage is made, so to speak.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
So that's the angle in which I got into with music. Right? Yeah. And in looking behind the scenes or peeling back the mask of a song, you get to see so much, and you get to reveal so much that is also intriguing and interesting to so many people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Now we're wrapping up.
Yes.
It has been a lovely conversation. But
Thank
before I let you go, I'd like you first to give the audience a piece of advice. This might be people who want to enter writing, photography, videography, everything that you have mentioned. What would you give these creatives? What advice would you give these creatives? I don't know how to advise creatives. I usually feel like creatives, if I'm to give you advice, it would be on a particular
subject. But I would say don't be scared of change. Don't be scared of change. And especially in this time when things move like this.
True.
Just be comfortable in adapting if you are to make it in this field. Because things are changing. I mean, just basically the vicissitudes of life and how things keep morphing. Morph with it. I know there is this whole idea of, no, me, I'm a photographer. I'm not going to make reels. I'll take my pictures and post them. I don't care. But, okay, it's good to be a purist. But for me, I've always learned in my experience that it won't help you very much. Right? And especially in the direction in which our economy is going, there is no harm, especially unless it compromises your art. Then in that case, sour, But for me, I've always found it's better if you're a bit more flexible, a bit more malleable, if you can just adapt to how the world is changing. If Kitambo people used to post their work on their websites, and now we have other platforms coming up where you have more audience and you can reach more people, where you can make more impact, then why not?
Why not?
Yeah.
I agree. I like that. Please tell our audience where they can find you online.
So I am on Twitter as the Magunga. I am on Instagram as the Magunga, at the Magunga, and then on TikTok I think it's just Magunga. Yeah. Okay. So that's where I am. I'm trying to build a YouTube page, but that's so hard. YouTube is hard.
YouTube is
YouTube is so hard.
But not impossible.
Yo.
You can do this.
YouTube is hard. TikTok was also very hard. But I think at least Skizo wameanza kunipenda.
I think
for a while there, but alikuwa ananiangalia tu. Na post video unapata 100 views.
100 views. You have to start from somewhere, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But yeah, thank you so much. We've really enjoyed the conversation.
It's been a pleasure.
That was Magunga, exclusively here on the Cre8 podcast. Please leave a like, comment, share, and don't forget to subscribe. Okay, bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for tuning into this episode of the Cre8 podcast. If you enjoyed it as much as we did, be sure to hit the subscribe button so you never miss an update. Like, share, and comment below whose story you'd like to hear next. And in the meantime, you can vibe with us on all our social media platforms at the Cre8 pod. Be sure to also check out our merch by following the link in the description. Remember to stay creative, and I'll see you in the next one.